Согласны с предложениями прекратить боевые действия.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has expressed qualified support for a US proposed 30-day ceasefire in the Ukraine war. But he says any agreement must address what Moscow sees as the root causes of the conflict.
We're doing very well with Russia.
A major caveat that suggests agreement could take longer than US President Donald Trump wants.
На фронті він фактично
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, whose country has accepted the plan, says Putin wants to delay the truce or make it not happen at all. So what do we know of Putin's conditions for pausing the war, prompted by Russia's invasion of Ukraine 3 years ago? Russia wants Ukraine to drop its ambitions to join the US-led NATO military alliance.
NATO welcomes the aspirations of Georgia and Ukraine for their membership in NATO.
In February, Russia demanded NATO scrap its 2008 promise to one day give Ukraine membership. It also dismissed the idea that NATO forces could keep the peace under any ceasefire deal. Putin portrays the conflict as part of an existential battle with the West, which he says humiliated Russia by expanding NATO eastwards after the fall of communism. The Kremlin wants recognition of Russia's claim to Crimea and 4 Ukrainian provinces it controls. It annexed the Crimean Peninsula in 2014 and sent proxies into East Ukraine. Russian forces currently control nearly a fifth of Ukraine's territory and are edging forward. Keir Giles of Chatham House says Ukraine accuses Russia of trying to create a frozen conflict.
The cementing of the front lines in their current position without any long-term guarantee of ensuring that the war will actually come to an end risks rewarding Russia by making the current zone of control permanent and freezing the conflict in place as opposed to resolving it.
Kyiv says Moscow annexed the regions it claims illegally and that it will never recognise Russian sovereignty over them. Putin wants the size of Ukraine's army to be limited. He says the ceasefire would have to ensure that Ukraine didn't use the time to regroup, train and take weapons deliveries, something Russia could also do.
Russia will be rebuilding its military force even faster without Ukrainian forces eroding it almost as fast as it can be rebuilt. And Ukraine, of course, will be rebuilding its defences.
Both sides are sustaining heavy casualties in what has become a war of attrition. But Russia is currently in the stronger position, experts say, while the future of US aid to Kyiv remains unclear under Trump. A February report by the London-based IISS think tank said Ukraine has suffered a serious loss of personnel, with many ground units under strength. Kyiv has launched a military recruitment drive to address its manpower problem. The Kremlin has also previously demanded an agreement not to deploy foreign troops in Ukraine. Putin has also made clear he wants Western sanctions on his country eased, and a presidential election to be held in Ukraine, which Kyiv says is premature while martial law is still in force.